Keep it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling the May 10th, 2021 Finance Committee meeting for Ascension Parish to order. I'd like to ask all rise for the invocation and pledge. Coach Thomas.
Let's bow our heads. Most Heavenly Father, as we gathered here tonight upon taking care of parish business, Lord, we come with a bowed down head and, yes, Lord, a forgiving heart. We come, Lord, to say thank you for another day. Thank you, Lord, for life. Thank you for being here tonight. Oh, Father, as we bow, Lord, I ask that you bless each and every person under the sound of my voice. Bless their families. Bless the meeting. Allow us to agree to disagree. Allow us, oh Lord, to be in your will. I pray, Lord, that you bless each and every councilman that's here tonight. Bless our president. Bless this parish of Ascension moving forward in 2021. We thank you, Lord, for allowing us once again to be in this place. And Lord God, as we leave this place tonight, we ask, Lord, that you allow each of us to get home safe and sound to our families. In your name we pray. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, and we all say amen.
Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Thomas. Under the roll call, item 2, Madam Secretary, note that Councilman Turner is not with us tonight. He may be on his way. Under Chair's additions, I have none. Public comment period, if there's an agenda item that you want to comment on, each speaker will be given 3 minutes, and you can fill out a card right there at the podium and give it to the Secretary, please.
John,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion, if I may, that we add an agenda item to allow the Animal Services Board
Okay.
to do a presentation, the annual presentation.
Second.
Had a motion and a second. By way of explanation, this was inadvertently left off the agenda, not by anyone's fault in administration or ours, but they've asked, since the lady traveled quite a distance to come do this report, that we put it on the agenda. I have a motion and a second to add, it's an annual report, is it?
That's correct.
Yes.
By the Animal Services Board. We'll put that under item 5. Let's do it under 5.1A. Make it the first item. Animal Services Board. Okay. Anything else? All right, under general business, we will start with the Animal Services Board. Oh, I'm sorry, I need a roll call vote. That has to be a unanimous decision to add something to the agenda at the last minute. So, Madam Secretary, please do a roll call.
Alvin Coach Thomas,
Yes.
Joel Robert,
Yes.
Travis Turner, Corey Orgeron,
Yes.
Dempsey Lambert,
Yes.
Chase Melanson,
Yes.
Aaron Lawler,
Yes.
Terry Cazzo,
Yes.
Dal Wagasback,
Yes.
John Cagnalotti,
Yes.
Michael Mason.
Yes.
All right, so that'll be what we will be covering right now. Is Charlotte here? Please come on up. Welcome.
Thank
Glad
you.
to have you.
Thank you for letting me present this. So we've never done this before, so I hope I'm covering the things that you guys want to have covered. Last year was our first year to be a board, and we started by, I thought I'd start with some of our accomplishments and then some of the obstacles we had, and then like for 2021, what we'd like to accomplish. So we started off by visiting the shelter in February, and we saw some issues with the building. There were some safety issues, and so we notified administration and started working with Kara's house, and they started to work on what needed to be done. And so I know you guys got presented with a budget amendment in January, and this is kind of based on our original visit to the shelter and found all the problems with the building and the plumbing and the electrical. So we started doing that. We also started getting reports monthly from Kara's house on what their problems were and initiated any issues, like we got them on the list for the Office of Emergency Preparedness when there was a hurricane or something. They didn't get communications before, and after we started, they get them now. We also started working on trying to get some financial reports, because I know that part of what we're supposed to do is make recommendations. We got our first reports in October, and I presented a report to you guys in November. We also started reaching out to other animal shelters to see who that were recently built, to see who they had used for their architecture firms or who came up with their designs, because we were really kind of at a loss as to how big a shelter we needed, what we needed in the shelter, all those sorts of things. So we started collecting that data. And we also started reviewing some ordinances on animal control, rabies licenses, and we're going to probably be making some recommendations to you guys in 2021 of things we might like to see updated that would be a little better. We did have COVID, and it gave us many limitations to in-person meetings, and I know you know that's been a problem for all of you, I'm sure. So it kind of stopped our work. We're trying to learn, and I guess that's one of the things that we need to continue to work on in 2021 is like, what's the proper procedures for us? It's kind of been a challenge for us to get the proper procedures done when we want to have something brought to the council, and whether we need to come to the finance committee first, like what we're doing now, and because we're just all learning. So we're trying, we appreciate your patience on that. We did have turnover of 4 people, and we've got 4 new people this year on our Animal Services Board. And so we're really kind of excited about that because they seem to be enthusiastic. And we did find about, I know you guys voted on it in April, but we found this firm called Shelter Planners of America. They've built 750 animals, or they've designed, I should say, 750 animal shelters in the last 11 years. They're very knowledgeable. They have veterinarians on staff, architects. They built the Lafayette, they did the conceptual design and the needs assessment study for the Lafayette Parish Shelter. And after that, they kind of come up with a benchmark of the demographics of the people and the animals in the community, projected growth, things like that, to kind of come up with what they think we need. And then they also come up with like a basic site plan, CAD drawings that have to scale and layout of buildings, rooms, locations, runs, cages, walls, windows, plumbing, cabinets. And they also come up with a probability of cost, which is a cost estimate of what they think it'll be. So if we can get this done, then we'll have a good idea, like cost-wise, where to go. And then it can go out for bids to any architectural firm. It's just an original, like, study of where they think we should start. And they do also build shelters, but we don't have to use them. Lafayette didn't use them. They used someone else. But it gives us a good baseline. So we really appreciate that you approved that in April. And I don't know exactly. I'm thinking we got a letter from admin that it needs to come across the finance committee, and then it has to be voted on twice again. So we're hoping that you support us in that this next time, because I really think that'll help us get started on what our budget should be for 2022, and also just a good idea of where we need to go. So anyway, that's all I had. So if anybody has any questions.
Any questions from council members? Councilman Robert?
Okay.
How you doing? The only question I had was, you had a turnover of 4 on your Animal Services Board and an additional 4, or just 4 altogether? You didn't add 4 to the board, did you?
We did not add 4 to the
Okay.
board. We had 4 people that
Okay.
resigned during the year.
Thanks.
Okay. We're still 7.
Anything else?
I got
Councilman Norris.
Charlotte, even though we just met, Mary, I want to let you know how appreciative I am of the work that you do and the dedication you have towards this board. Just so everybody knows, Charlotte drove all the way in from Florida to be here with us today. She takes this position very serious, and as a citizen, putting yourself out the way you do is very appreciated and noticed by the members up here on this dais. So
Thank you.
thank you, and thank the other members of the board, too. I don't want to disregard you guys, but
Yeah, thank you,
yeah,
yeah.
I've been
And
very
there-
impressed with your dedications thus far.
Thank you. I think it's an important thing for us to, use what we've been given I guess the taxpayers gave us this, and we can make some improvements, and so to use the money wisely and do the best we can, I think it's a kind of a passion of mine. So anyway,
Right.
thank you very much.
And you have Councilman Orgeron serving on your board, right?
That's
Yes,
correct.
he is.
So as things move forward, he would be a good avenue to talk about financing and what's next on the project and where you want to go. And then
Right.
he'll bring it to our attention, okay?
Right.
And the
Yeah.
administration
we-
as well,
We appreciate that too, Corey.
Thanks.
okay? Coach Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. Cagnali. Just in the near future, that you would think about moving for the West Ascension Dog Park. We mentioned it, I mentioned it a while back when we did the upgrade on the dog park. I talked to Mr. Robert, and we do have some dog lovers on the west side
Okay,
that you may look at doing something in the near future
okay,
in terms of working toward getting things better as we go along.
okay, that sounds
Like
good.
that you would keep that in mind.
Okay.
Thank you very
Do
much.
that. Thank you,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you, Charlotte. Appreciate that. Any other comments?
A question. I was curious about, and maybe I misunderstood Charlotte. I think we approved at council the use of funds to do the preliminary plan.
Right.
Concept. I don't think that has to come back to us yet again, so unless there's something I'm missing.
May I, Mr. Cagnali? Mr. President? I was just going to add, the issue was, the claim is that it was not in the budget for 2021 to spend the $1,000. So they're asking us tonight to include that in the amended budget that we have before us this evening, to put that into the budget for 2021, and then we'll move forward with that vote going forward.
Excellent. I hate to see it take weeks and months.
As do we.
All right. Thank you. Back to 5A, Prevost Hospital Annual Presentation. Is Vince in the audience? Someone on his behalf, I take it.
Good evening. I'm Jas Daze. I'm with the audit firm that Prevost hired to do the annual report, Postal Wait in Netterville. I thank you, Mr. Vince, for this opportunity. So, from what I understand, the documents that are requested have been provided to y'all. I assume y'all have the annual report. So this report covers the period ending August 31st, 2020. So a few months back. This report has, this year, as it has been for all, has been difficult due to the pandemic. So you will see decreases in revenues related to that pandemic. I'll start with, if you have the report, page 2. As we have in the past year since I've been doing this audit, we've issued a clean opinion, which states that Prevost prepares materially correct statements. And what you have in front of you is materially correct. If you turn to page 8, I'm sorry, page 7. So what you'll see here, Prevost had a significant increase in total assets, mainly driven by what you see under the current liabilities. They received provider relief funds from the CARES Act, as many of the rural hospitals did. They received approximately, let's see, 2.8 million. I'm sorry, 3.5 million. Of that 3.5, 900 was recognized for the period ending August 31st. The others have not been recognized due to the pandemic ongoing. Those will be recognized as time passes. So that accounted for about 3.5 million of your 8.6, well, your increase of 6.6 from the prior year in cash. Additionally, you'll see some of the investments have matured, approximately $2.4 million of investments matured and were not reinvested. They are in your cash balance. So that pretty much explains your balance sheet and the changes that Prevost had gone through. Turn to page 8, you'll see the decrease in service revenues that I talked about. And then you'll see those provider relief funds of $900,000 that were recognized. You have any questions
Any questions by any of the council
on
members?
those two? If you look at the operating expenses, you'll see Prevost is fairly consistent in what they're spending. Mr. Vance does a good job managing his expenses. So, with that, it was a pretty normal year other than the pandemic. Less patient services with people not wanting to go into the hospitals. And then they received this extra funding from the CARES Act.
Any questions? Coach Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Just in mind and just to say that Mr. Cartago and his team and his staff runs a tight shift, and we want to thank him for allowing him to continue to run a tight shift and to do the job, the excellent job that they're doing back there in keeping the community informed and keeping things in line. So with that, we appreciate the job that you're doing, Mr. Cartago, and your team. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Any other comments?
Yes, sir.
Chase?
Yeah, I have a few. On page 9,
Yes,
the total liabilities and net position, that $33.8 million, is that like a cash reserve that currently exists?
On page,
I'm looking at the 32 page document attachment. We have 3 or 4 of them.
okay, you looking at the statement of net position?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the 33 million is net position and liabilities. 3.6 of that is liabilities. The other 30 is net position, 25 of which is not reserved, but available.
So we currently have $25 million in cash sitting in the bank somewhere?
Not in cash investments, other assets.
8.6.
So you see, if you look at the first line, your cash is 8
Okay.
That's liquid cash. And then your investment balance is $18.4 million.
How many patients a day do we serve on average at Prevost?
Mr. Vince, you want to talk about that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Vince Cataldo with Prevost Hospital. And what was the question?
Do you have the data on like a patient per day or patient per month that we service at
Yes,
Prevost?
the data I'm going to give you is from January 1 until December the 31st during the pandemic. And they were encouraging people not to go into a hospital.
Right.
And we tried keeping a few of the COVID patients, and on the 5th day, we found that they were needing specialty services like respiratory therapy. They'd have to see a pulmonologist. So we didn't take any more after that time. But during the year, we had 64 patients during the year.
Off the top of your head, what about 2019?
Well, I don't have those figures with me,
No?
but we plan to make some changes. And one reason we have those low numbers is because there are a lot of nurses that shifted jobs. And we have been having a staff shortage. And we tried to call in agency nurses, and the agencies were telling us, don't call us, we don't have any available. Some of these nurses were going for $100 an hour working COVID units. And it was very short right now. And a lot of them moved around during that pandemic.
Right.
And we also had the nurses that were infected with the COVID virus. And that has only made us a greater shortage of our staff.
I got you. I have a few questions about what you see about the future for Prevost. Do you mind?
I don't have any problem with that. I had a list of goals, if you want me to read through those.
Yeah.
I think I gave you the list of goals. I also had achievements for 2020, and whatever y'all want me to do, I'm here.
Okay. So we've been talking about early childhood education for a while. It's something that we really want to do, and we want to start on the West Bank.
Yes, sir.
It's we're very deficient there, and we need to improve that. And also with the early childhood development goes preventative health care. That's something that we lack drastically, especially on the West Bank. And so I did some digging and research, and what I'd like to see would be us invest in preventative health care for the citizens on the West Bank, encourage wellness checks and provide as much as these services that we can. And I just went through some stats. This is CDC numbers from 2016 to 2019. This is pre-COVID, and this pertains to minorities and low-income areas. African American women over the age of 20, 59% suffer from obesity, and 58% suffer from hypertension or high blood pressure. And African American men on the age over 20, 39% suffer from obesity and 57% from hypertension and high blood pressure. The leading cause for minorities and low income are malignant neoplasms, breast and ovary cancer, and heart disease. That's two of the things that with wellness checks that could be caught, way ahead of time, and that's it. It's services like that, with the balance we have, with the money we have, instead of just treating a few patients a day, we can expand and really hit on this preventative health care. And I was just curious if that was something potentially in the future on the West Bank, or things like that. Is that something that y'all talked about?
Most definitely. We've been working on plans for years to expand the hospital and to renovate it, because the hospital was built between 66 and 68. And we also have plans to add a medical office building on our property and bring in different specialists and different services. And you have to have something to show people in order to attract good candidates to fill those positions. And that's what we're hoping to have groundbreaking in 2021. One thing that's holding us up right now, and this is listed in my accomplishments and goals, is that we acquired 2/3 of a 6-acre tract of land directly behind the hospital. And right now, 1/3 of it is in appeals. And we're hoping to have a hearing to dismiss that on June the 14th. So that when we start digging the retention ponds and doing the underground sewer work and putting the driveways in the parking lots, that we will have a place to put the dirt that we dig out of these areas to reuse in our construction. So we have quite extensive plans, and I'll be more than happy to share that with y'all whenever y'all have a chance. But we do have intentions of making things work and have more specialty care there. And I'm sure y'all gonna have difficulty believing this, but every month for the past years, and our auditors are right here with us tonight, they can verify this, we write off $100,000 per month. That's exactly what we collect in sales tax. Because a lot of these people come through, don't have any coverage. And it's driving up the cost because we have a lot of litigation and a lot of people that are uninsured. And whenever one of our contract physicians see one of these uninsured patients, we get billed for that patient. They'll go up on the subsidy because the people that they're seeing are not billable for professional fees.
Right.
We come out okay because we have disproportionate share, but that's drying up. You hold a bill from June to June, and then you could get a percentage of that bill. But other than that, I hope I answered your question, Mr. Malonzo.
Yeah. I was thinking, maybe like quarterly, we could do an event to where a nurse practitioner or something like that, maybe y'all could contract someone out and give women like a mammogram or a pap smear, something that without the insurance that they'll never get, that they can detect serious things very early.
You know, when you start doing something like a mammogram, you have a professional fee attached to that for the radiologist. So, you know, you can eat up your dollars pretty quickly. And if we're already given exactly what the tax money collects,
Right.
you know, we'd have to be careful with anything that would be a drain on the hospital. But
I mean, you collected 1.2 million a year and you got 8.5 in reserve. I don't think we're eating all of it up doing what we're currently doing.
You know, we were told years ago that you were gonna have to rely on non-patient generated revenues. And when you say that, what does that mean? It means that you have to have invested money so that you can get revenues off of that. And that's what we've been surviving on, because we were very frugal in whatever we did. So I have no problem with moving forward, but we have plans that we've been working on for years, and I would like for y'all to consider that too before we jump into anything.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Vance. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. Thank y'all.
Councilman Robert?
How you doing, Mr. Vince? We met a few years ago, about 2019. They tried to take away funding for Prevost Hospital and move it to a recreation tax. And during that time, myself and Mr. Vance got, very, very cordial as far as meeting all the time to do what we could to stop that from happening. Throughout all of the people I talked to on the West Bank, Mr. Vince is known as a pillar of the community, in the sense of there's nobody that will go to his hospital and him not take care of one way or another. And I've heard this numerous people throughout all of Donaldsonville. He also showed me elevations and beginning drawings of the renovations he's talking of for the hospital. Already undertaken some of those as far as the removing and remodeling some. As far as the detox rooms, have we moved forward on any of that type
No,
stuff?
we did not move forward because of the pandemic.
And that's another addition that we were talking about.
Right.
That once we start applying all of these things to that budget, I mean, you don't really have much money in reserves. And if you go to the hospital, it's run, just like Coach was saying, I mean, it's run a tight ship, top to bottom, front to back. And the only problem is it's dated. I mean, it looks like a brand-new facility that was built in what year?
66, between 66 and 68.
Yeah, it brings you back to the late 60s when you walk in there. And he's still operating. I think you're doing a great job. I'd like to see these renovations and these expansions, and I'd really like to see some detox beds over there, and keep up the good work.
We'll work on everything y'all mentioned tonight, and I appreciate y'all's time very much. Thank y'all.
Oh. John. I'm sorry. Mr. Vince, I had one more question from Councilman Lawler.
I know, I hate to bring up an old subject. The bathrooms, are they accessible by wheelchairs yet?
We have bathrooms in the building that are accessible, but in a facility where people sleep overnight, you just don't start tearing out doors and replacing them with larger doors. It just doesn't work that way. But the plans are all drawn for all that to be redone, half the hospital at the time. And we're going to go from, we had a 35-bed hospital, we dropped it to 25 in order to qualify for critical access, and we plan to drop that now to 18 so that we can have rooms in there for bariatric patients with lifts.
That's good, but I think when we discussed this probably 3 or 4 years ago,
Yes.
there were no bathrooms where people in a wheelchair could get into.
But
And
you-
you telling me we still haven't remedied that with $30 million in assets? Where
You
a
can't-
person can't use a bathroom that's in a wheelchair at a hospital?
We have bathrooms that they can use. We saw to that, but not in their room. Those days when they designed hospitals, not every hospital had a complete bathroom with a shower, you know? So all of that's being redone.
What is the
in the-
timeline on that then? Do we have a hard
Well-
timeline?
We hoping to have working before the end of 2021.
How, I mean, do we have plans? Do we have an architect?
Architect, 2 architects and several engineers. And the land is holding us up, and those retention ponds are holding us up.
Okay, I mean, I just have to say that's terribly disappointing that in this day and age with $30 million in assets, people have to go into a hospital and can't be in a wheelchair and use a bathroom with dignity in their own room. We have talked about this for years.
I assure you that's being taken.
Well, I know, but we talked about this 4 years ago.
I mean, when you have a facility and you're asking people not to come in because the exposure to COVID, you can count that year out of the length of time you're speaking about.
No, not really. I'm sorry, you can't. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr.
Coach Thomas.
I think at this time, pretty much everything is in a forward motion, and I can appreciate Mr. Lawler's comments on some of the stuff that's been going on. But again, things are moving forward, and it will be attended to ASAP. Is in motion, and as soon as we can get to getting that done. Prevost is the only hospital that we have on the West Bank, and it's a parish hospital. And again, we need to make sure that we do everything possible. And I think Mr. Vince Cartago has done such as that, making sure that he breathes and sleeps Prevost Hospital in terms of, and I understand what Mr. Lawler is saying, but again, let's work together, let's work it out, and as we speak, I think the situation that we're talking about will be done. ASAP is in motion. So thank you for your patience, and again, we thank you all.
I would just like to add, before I recognize Councilman Robert, I think what we'd like to see, Vince, is some kind of a plan coming forward.
We have it.
You know, you have this money in the bank, you say architects are working, but I think this body would like to see some detailed plans with timelines as far as, you know, what's going to happen, when, and if you expect hurdles, we say we might be, you know, it might interfere our plans because this might happen, but some kind of a plan would be nice.
In motion.
President Whitmore.
Thank you, Chairman. I believe there was a little confusion earlier as we passed item 4. I think we have some people here that are wanting to speak on the Wellness Center and Early Childhood Education. We have several. We have obviously the sheriff here and several of the library board. So I'm asking this council if we can provide an item or an opportunity for these people to speak since they showed up today. That would
It's
be
item
appreciated.
6A,
6A.
the budget amendment.
Is there any chance we can move it up on the agenda, at least during the public comment period?
What's the will of the council?
I certainly have no objection.
I'll make
I'll
that
motion.
motion.
To
I'll
amend the
motion.
agenda.
I'll move.
Second.
Item 6A up into general business 5A1, or 5B1, I guess.
Second, John.
Motion's, need a roll call vote, please, Madam Chair.
Councilman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilman Robert,
After this item that we're on currently, yes.
Councilman Orgeron,
I mean, I want to go back to the item on the agenda. I don't want to go past that.
Prevost?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, I agree with Mr. Robert.
Councilman Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Lawson,
Yes.
Councilman Lawler.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Councilwoman Cazo.
Yes.
Councilman Wagasback,
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati?
Yes.
Councilman Michael Mason?
Yes.
Okay, reverting back to 5A, Prevost annual, is that what you wanted to talk about?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to address, whenever I did visit the facility, one of the main issues to address, some of which you're speaking of, Councilman Lawler, and I agree with a lot of the things as far as timelines. We want things to be expedited quickly, but they have some asbestos problems in there also. So whenever you're dealing with asbestos, they're going to have to go through and shut down actually whole parts of the hospital. I know that's not going to give you a reason for 3 years or 4 years or anything else, but it just adds to all the other things with the, But that's all I had on that item.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll now move to item 5B1, Budget Amendment Number 5, approval to amend 2021 budget. Dawn Caballero, Assistant Treasurer. Ms. Dawn?
You have before you Budget Amendment Number 5, the ordinance which reads as follows. An ordinance to amend the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2021 operating and capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension, adopted by the Ascension Parish Council on the 19th day of November 2020. Section 1. The Ascension Parish Council hereby ordains that the ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the 2021 operating capital budgets for the Parish of Ascension is hereby amended, approved, and appropriated as follows. Operating budget, general fund. Revenues and other financing sources, ad valorem taxes, juvenile detention, negative $1,503,500. Expenditures and other financing uses, public safety, probation, and juvenile court, negative $525,000. Pension fund from ad valorem collections, negative $50,000. Transfer out juvenile justice programs fund, negative $5,649,000. Animal services fund, professional services contract for the animal service construction fund. Expenditures and other financing uses, transfers out, animal services construction fund, $30,000. Juvenile Justice Programs Fund to establish new fund. Revenues and other financing sources, ad valorem taxes, juvenile detention, $1,503,500. Transfer in general fund, $5,649,000. Expenditures and other financing uses, travel and training, $10,000. Transportation and mileage, $10,000. Probation and juvenile court, $525,000. Pension fund from ad valorem collections, $50,000. Capital budget, animal services construction fund, professional services contract for a needs assessment and conceptual design of the new Ascension Parish Animal Shelter. Revenues and other financing sources, transfers in, animal services fund, $30,000. Expenditures and other financing uses, professional services capital, $30,000.
Motion.
I have a motion from Coach.
Second.
Second from Michael Mason.
Hold one second.
I'm sorry.
We're going to be able to, we have speakers that drove from various places. Will they be able to speak on there?
I know, I have the
Okay.
cards. We got a motion and a second, and now we're going to call up speakers
Okay.
who have signed cards who wish to speak on this subject.
I got a,
And I'm sorry, Coach?
okay, good. I like to speak before they get to,
Okay, go ahead.
okay, I wrote up a few things here. We had a motion and a second, and it's an honor for me to present tonight the budget amendment. As we have heard over and over again, early childhood development is a positively impact on every facet of the parish government. Even the law enforcement with Mr. Bobby Weber, education, Mr. Alexander, we have governed the service, tax base, quality of life, healthcare, economic growth, and opportunities. And this is a partnership between several parish entities and the private sector, all of whom have a stake in our future of the parish. Changing the culture and providing more opportunities for a disadvantaged area is a generational thing. And it doesn't happen overnight. One brick at a time. We didn't get into this overnight, and it won't take overnight to get it done. We need to work at it at all times. reaching the minds of the very young, transformative in the development of their minds and their recognition of the importance of education in their success and future generation to come, teaches them one thing, teaches them to fish. Teach your person or man to fish, you feed him for life. One brick at a time. And I say this to Mr. President, Mr. John Diaz. We are very grateful that you allow him, Mr. President, to endeavor into and work so hard on getting this and putting this thing together. We can appreciate it. It's a long time coming for the West Ascension and moving forward. And we need to work together, and there's no I in team. No I in team. Each entity, from the sheriff to the school board to parish government, and I often say, and Mr. President knows, I said it the other day, one team, one heartbeat. And I think we can go a long way in getting that part of the parish up to grade where it needs to be. I thank you. I humbly thank this council for allowing me the opportunity to speak, and I thank you all for allowing us to move forward and getting this done. It won't take overnight, but at least we have laid the foundation, just as we did with sewer. We were one team, one heartbeat. We got it done. And I know for a fact we can get this done, moving forward, making it better in West Ascension. Thank you, and appreciate each and every one of you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach Thomas. Okay, we'll call speak. I have a number of calls for speakers. David Alexander. We have a timer. Oh, he's bringing someone up with him.
The real expert, if you will. Okay?
Okay.
We just wanted to first of all echo our sentiments as well. You know, early childhood education, anything we can do there. We're already serving 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, but we also do a lot with child care centers that are eligible for sort of our oversight. And right now, we don't have any on the west side.
That's right.
And so what we want is we want to develop that, and we can even add to the pool, the funding source, through grants and things like that. What we can't do is provide a facility. And so I'm going to let Mary, who is really over our early childhood, just share with y'all a little bit about what our goals are here.
Hi, I'm Mary Mcmahon. I'm the supervisor over early childhood for Ascension Parish Schools, and I am proudly formerly the principal of Johnsonville Primary School, where I served for 5 years. So I'm very familiar with the needs of the community, and I have an affection for that community. I assume that everyone knows and believes that early childhood is important, but I'm going to tell you why it is, okay? So we've talked a little bit, I heard you talking about some financial things. I saw on the agenda some budget items for prisons and things like that. You know, one of the things that leads to that prison pipeline is lack of education.
Right.
When we talk about high school graduation rates, those are directly related to the reading ability of a child when they're in the 3rd grade. Your 3rd grade reading ability is a predictor of whether or not you are going to graduate from high school, which is then a predictor of what your long-term life is going to be like. Mm-hmm. A predictor of your 3rd grade reading ability comes directly from if you were ready for kindergarten. So in our non-at-risk areas, our children are typically ready for kindergarten. They've had lots of language and literacy experiences. They've gone to daycare. But in our impoverished areas, those children do not always get those opportunities. And so the lack of early childhood experiences then directly impacts their readiness for kindergarten. We have 5-year-olds come into kindergarten who have a substantial deficit in their language, vocabulary, pre-reading, pre-numeracy skills. So we've got to do something about that. We are the lead agency for the Ascension Parish Community Network, which is, consists of our 19 public school sites, and we also have 19 child care centers in our community network within Ascension Parish that serve families who are eligible for federal or public funding. We have 0 in Donaldsonville.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
your
you're
time is
fine.
up. You keep
It's
going.
okay, you can want me to keep going, because
Yes,
I
please.
was really talking on his time, so I think I should.
We'll allow him 6 minutes total, since there's 2 of them up there.
I
Go
did
ahead.
fill out a card too,
And
so.
Go ahead.
just some information.
Yes, so I have provided you with some information. One of them is what the vision and mission of Ascension Parish Early Childhood is. There's some information on there about what the community network is and how we function as the lead agency. The other thing is some information about the children that we're serving. So right now, we are serving 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds on the west side, and we're funding that with Head Start money, LA4 money, and some local funding. We are not serving any infants, 1-year-olds, or 2-year-olds because we don't have, those children are not served in the public school system. They're served in private child care centers that receive that funding.
Right.
And in Donaldsonville, we have no
None.
facility that is a type 3 center. So parents who want to go to work and bring their children to child care
Right.
don't have an option. Parents who qualify for work or school-related child care fees being paid by the state don't have an option. So we've got to provide them with one. What we're wanting to do as Ascension Parish Schools, we can apply for a grant that will enable us to assist in the materials and the training of teachers, and the site would become part of our network, so we would do the observations of the teachers and implement the curriculum there. What we don't have the funding for is to build a facility. And so we're wanting to partner with the parish and have the parish allocate some funding or a site for us so that we can then partner with you all and make this happen in Donaldsonville.
Sounds good.
Do you have any questions about that?
Sounds good.
You in, Coach?
Sounds good. I'm in. I'm all the way
Councilman
in.
Robert?
When you say allocate a site, do you mean an existing site, existing structure, or do you mean?
The grant money that we can get, will not allow us to use that money to build a site. But if there was an existing site that was either privately or parish-owned, we could use the money to upgrade that site. Or if there was another partner who could build a site, a private industry, or if the parish had the funding to do that, then we could partner with you all, and we would kind of help with the instructional piece and the finding the children piece, and then whoever we put in professional development, all of those things, I have them all listed on the little sheet for you. But we just can't use that funding to build a facility. And our local funding that's allocated to the school board is not allocated to us to build sites for birth to 2-year-olds. They're built for kindergarten through 12th grade. So,
So what will the occupancy have to be for that building?
excuse me?
What will the occupancy need to be as far as the,
Right now, what we're asking for is permission to pursue exploring that. So by the end of the month, by the 26th of May, I have to turn in a proposal that would just kind of talk about who we might partner with, and then they would give us $100,000 to use to explore and find the answers to those questions for you.
okay.
So we can pull some funding with what you guys are already talking about doing, right? So
Right.
we just wanted to be here, first of all, in support of, let's consider the funding sources that you guys are considering tonight for early childhood on the west side.
And I
And we
think-
can even add to that.
can add to
We can
that.
augment that. We can augment that with, expertise. We can be a part of this whole project, and we want to be.
I feel like something that the west side has, that the east side really doesn't, is an abundance of infrastructure and facilities. and nice buildings that could just take a little TLC, maybe a little code to get up to the correct specs and move forward way quicker and way cheaper than building a new facility. So maybe something we could look at as far as the parish partnering or donating that.
Okay.
Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have one question.
Councilman Malonzo?
With the early childhood, have we also just considered, and I'm just throwing this out there for something for us to think about, and this one comes from experience. I've stuttered my whole life. Are we going to make things like speech therapy and things like that a part of
Related
this?
services, yes.
Right. Because I remember, so I went to speech therapy at Lake Primary whenever I was like 3 years old, before I even started kindergarten. And I know that's
And we provide those services within our 3- and 4-year-old sites. So
Okay.
Ascension Head Start and has our 3-year-olds, and Donaldsonville Primary has our 4-year-olds. We just don't have any birth to 2-year-olds in a type 3 center where we could provide that
Gotcha.
service.
But if we had those birth to 2-year-old centers, we can also go in with some other services there too.
great. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you,
All right, our
Mr.
next
Gay.
speaker,
Alexander. Thank you.
next speaker.
Thank you.
Lisa Bacala. Welcome, Lisa.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm actually a retired public servant volunteer, so just here to promote this. I retired 4 years ago as the secondary director of Ascension Parish Schools, but I began as a resource teacher in 1986, and I had students come into my class reading on the 2nd grade level. And so, in addition to the extensive program offered by the school system, we would bring them home and do after-school tutoring, just a lot of real-world experiences and intensive summer tutoring. And by the end of their high school career, they could graduate with a high school diploma. And I've gone on to really keep up with many of them, and they're very successful, and they're doing well in life. So that gap is definitely a closable gap, but it takes partnerships, and it takes a lot of people to help that happen. As I moved to the central office, and even now upon retirement, I've been afforded many opportunities to work with students in Donaldsonville from the K through the 12th level. I was a secondary supervisor, but we worked K-12. And I saw some of the same gaps there. And I saw some students, I actually entered homes where kids didn't speak or have anyone spoken to them for maybe the first couple years of their lives. That's not a one-time incident. That happened on a regular basis. Sometimes I was delivering tablets from the school system, and we'd get there, and they really didn't have anyone to even show them how to do that. The school system's come a long way since then in making that happen, but it was happening, and those students are in school right now with a gap that continues to grow. So I'm just saying, just think about this question. If a simple affirmation from you could just impact the lives of young children and eventually future adults in the community of Donaldsonville, possibly even changing the total trajectory of their lives, would you agree to give it a shot? That's what I'm asking of you tonight. Extensive research exists, as they've just told you, and as you've been given by a lot of the information John Diaz has provided for you, that closing the gaps of children, it helps them get a good start, but it also levels a playing field for life. It puts them in the game. It puts them in the game where they would not be in the game in other instances. So it helps them as they progress in their lives and their education and their futures. So I know you've been provided with all this, and my challenge to you is now just to become part of that solution for that community and give yourself something to be proud for. I'm doing this as a volunteer, but I was a public servant my whole life when I moved here in 1986, and I just think it works. So I'm asking you to do the same. So thank you. Appreciate
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Sheriff Bobby Weber.
Yes, Lord.
Welcome, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. So I know that you're going to discuss on the agenda item tonight about moving some juvenile justice funds over to the early childhood education, and I am in full support of that. And we do have the site. I'd like to think that we were forward thinking as a sheriff's office several years ago when we bought the West Ascension Elementary School. It's practically a city block in Donaldsonville and a place that we affectionately call Back-a-Town.
Right.
And we took that old, adult education building, we refurbished it. We built 2 parks, one for smaller children, one for larger children. We built a grand basketball courts out there. We have a study hall in it. We have a library in it. And we just had the vision to do it, and we thought we built it and they would come. And they truly did. There's thousands of kids that go to that park along with their parents and grandparents. It's been a huge success. And I've finally seen the passion of John and this administration and many of you on this council and working with the library saying, you know what, we could do more there. And I think that we can do more there. For the first time, there could be a collaborative effort between the sheriff's office, the school system, the library, parish government, and it seemed like it's coming together in a big way now, and I can feel the passion with it, and so that's why we support it. We know what goes on back there, and it goes on every week. There's not a week goes by that we're not working with the library or doing some function back there, whether it's grandparents raising grandkids, whether it's movie nights, whether it's study halls, whether it's playing outdoors. It's been a huge success, and I think that we could do a lot more there. There's several acres there. There's the old school still there, so maybe some of that has to come down. Maybe some of it could be refurbished.
Right.
The library's talking about wanting to do something really neat back there with the library. So I just wanted to offer my support. We've seen what could happen there. It's started in a big way. It's going to continue no matter what happens, but after speaking to the community leaders, some members of this council, this administration, speaking with the library folks and working with David Alexander, this thing could really take off, and I think you would have a jewel right there in Donaldsonville. So thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, sir.
Next, Ms. Robin Delaney, did you want to speak, or did you didn't check whether you wanted to speak or not?
That was my oversight, but I do want to speak. I wouldn't drive from Donaldsonville and not say something.
That's fine.
Much less Florida.
Thank you for
I just want to
coming.
say thank you, first of all, to the president of our parish and to John and to the council for all the efforts that you have done thus far. My name is Robin P. Delaney. I am the school board representative for District 1 over on the west side, but I'm not here to represent the school board tonight. I'm here as a citizen of the West Bank. I grew up there, I still live there, and I love my town and I love my parish. And I'm here to just ask a couple of questions. How many of you on the council have went to kindergarten? How many of you went to daycare? Okay, so what's the difference between a West Bank person's brain and a East Ascension side brain? What's the difference? Nothing except exposure. When you have children who have not gone to a pre-K program or to Head Start or to daycare, it makes a difference. I have a daughter who lives on this side and a son who lives over here because of their job. But I saw the difference in the children. On the west side, as has been mentioned before, we have 0 certified daycare centers.
Right.
When you get to our high school, Donaldsonville High School, you just heard about the young man Joel Walker who has gotten, the Bill Gates Scholarship. And there was another one that he received, he's going to get $40,000. That started because people at home who were dedicated to work with him and they didn't let him just watch TV. We want all of our kids to be strong Ascension Parish citizens. And a chain is only as strong as what? The weakest link. Right now we have some challenges on the west side. Early childhood is one of those problems that we have. So I'm here to say I'm in support of an early childhood program. We need that to give our children a chance. When you get to Donaldsonville High School, that school now is rated as a what? A B. Because they've closed the gaps. But just think about what would happen if we started on the bottom and gave them opportunities. So don't think of them as West Side students or West Side children, West Side citizens. We're all what? One Ascension?
That's right.
And we need your help right now.
That's right.
So we need you all to consider adding that to the budget and giving all those children a chance, because that way they'll have a jump and a head start on things like that, and they'll be more productive citizens. We have great people on the west side.
Yes.
Great people on the east side. My mother taught at East Ascension High School. Matter of fact, she taught Sheriff Jeff Wiley. Her name was Juanita Hilda Morgan. And you know she believed in what? Public education. I do too. I believe that all our children need a chance. So I'm just here to say, please consider supporting this addition to give all of our children in Ascension Parish an equal chance. And if any of you all want to start a daycare center, please come to the west side.
Thank you, Ms. Delaney. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Robin.
She got me worked up.
Henry
man.
Scheck-Snyder.
Feisty.
Welcome, Henry.
School board member. Library board. West side.
My name is Henry Scheck-Snyder. I'm from the West Bank. I attended Laurie High School, and I attended DHS, and I'm a proud graduate of DHS High. I'm currently the chairman of the library board for Ascension Parish. And as Sheriff Weber said, the library has worked in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department at the Hickler Wagisback Center, and we provide a lot of resources in the way of computers and books and learning things that the library could do. And we recognize the library could do a lot more. We're in the process of remodeling the building downtown, and we're getting final plans with our architects right now, which is really going to be a beautiful building for downtown Donaldsonville. But we'd like to do a lot more at the Hickler Wagisback Center, and we think that early childhood development is a place where we could certainly spend some money and some resources and give support from the library. So I just want to let you know that as chairman and working with our board, we're fully supportive of Donaldsonville, and we want to do whatever we can to make the West Bank better. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Henry. Next, Dwayne Bailey. Welcome, Mr. Bailey.
Oh, thank you. Great that you guys have me here today. Just came to give my support. I'm a member of the Capital Area Human Service District Board, lifelong resident of Donaldsonville, Louisiana, and I'm very excited to be here with you today. Like a few of the speakers have said, Donaldsonville, face it, has its issues. We're looking at educational issues, rampant poverty, have housing issues, medical issues, substance abuse issues, violence and trauma issues. But today I'm excited to be here because this is the day that Donaldsonville gets to write its own story, change its trajectory with the support of Ascension Parish government. We're talking about this early childhood development center in Donaldsonville. And it's simply going to be a center where we study the growth and development and education of children 0 to 2. The ideal behind early childhood development initiative is to simply get more kids on the path to school and prepare them for kindergarten. It's where we teach the 3 R's and socialization skills. In the program, the children will get the chance to work on their own personalities and then work on their relationship to others in their world. Early childhood development is going to be used to create a foundation for social consciousness, moral consciousness, and cultural consciousness. Creating literate individuals capable of functioning as leaders in a modern society. Now, leadership, as you guys know as elected officials, has nothing to do with power or authority. I'll say that one more time. Leadership has nothing to do with power or authority. Leadership has to do with progress and the ability to understand that progress and initiate change in every endeavor that we do. So when you see a preschooler, what you're actually seeing is a pre-leader. So simply put, the Early Childhood Development Center in Donaldsonville, it's what Ascension Parish government is doing to make sure that our children are put in an environment that supports the development of skills and to allow them to socialize accordingly. It allows them to live in a world that we prepare for them, that is safe and supportive, equipped with the tools and skills needed to transform their world and then pass that world to their children. And in closing, I just want to thank our parish president, my councilman, Alvin Thomas, my councilman, Joel Robert, and our CEO, John Diaz. It's so good to see the parish president and Councilman Thomas working together. Because you councilmen know, once in a while, parish president, you guys might bump heads.
Yeah.
But I remember that our parish president ran on change and transparency. And I also remember that Coach Thomas ran on change and progress. So it's so good to see you guys doing your little agitation thing, because that's what cleans up the wash. But as we move forward, I can see that both of these gentlemen have the great ability to put any differences aside and work for our parish. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
Next, Libby Saunier. Welcome, Libby. She's here from New Orleans.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Dr. Libby Saunier. I'm the Executive Director of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children. We're a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization squarely focused on really looking at data and research to make evidence-based decisions and policy decisions for our young children in Louisiana. And so Ascension Parish really has an opportunity. I'm so impressed to see a multi-agency approach to addressing what we need to address, which is to making sure our children have a smart start. From the very beginning. And so that's where real leadership comes in, is when we see those types of things. And so it's really thrilling to be able to see that, especially as someone with my background of over 20 years in the field working in longitudinal research. And what we know is that 90% of brain development happens prior to age 4. And we know the majority of that brain development actually happens prior to age 3. So you have a real opportunity to build little people into great big people, and to really change your parish into what you want it to be.
There you go.
Also, the other thing that you have an opportunity to do is this: making this investment, your return on investment at very minimum is 13% return on investment for every dollar that you spend on these young children. Estimates from Nobel laureate James Heckman says it could be up to 18% of return on investment. I don't know about you all, but I can't put my money in anything and get that return on investment.
All right.
This is the time to do it. We would love to herald Ascension Parish as the place that figured it out in the state of Louisiana, because you have a rural and an urban parish that could really do some amazing things. And so we're committed at the Policy Institute for Children to supporting you any way we can. We have national funders that have said, Libby, you tell us what you need and we will support this parish. And so we're giving you our commitment, because we believe in these babies. It's not juvenile justice babies, it's not Department of Health babies, it's not education babies, but they're our babies. And we want to make sure that they have the best start possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much for your comments.
Thank you.
That concludes the speakers. We have 2 other cards. Bill Dawson says he's in support, although he did not wish to speak. And we have Delaney Brown here representing Senator Ed Price, and he also said he didn't want to speak, but he supports the cause. Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to just note, when you look at the quality and the character of the individuals coming here to speak from around our parish, you know that this is an important issue.
Yeah.
You know, when John first brought this up, you know, almost immediately when we had our first initial conversation on what we were going to do to impact our parish. And he set out to change people's lives, and that's what this does. And I can't think of a better endeavor for Ascension Parish government to lead the state in this initiative, because that's what we're doing here. We're coming together with the Sheriff's Department, we're coming together with the school board, the library board, and countless others. John's busy doing field trips, going look at different wellness centers, going talk to professionals around the country, not in the state, around the country, to ensure we're making the best decisions possible in this endeavor. What I hope to have happen is that, and I do believe we'll be successful, but at that time of success, I want other parishes to visit Ascension to come see how we did it right.
Right.
And I think that we're able to put our footprint here that will last generations. And I want to thank every council person, including our 2 that represent the West Bank, on their leadership, and countless others on this council that have taken their time, their expertise, and push this agenda forward, because it's true change, and that's all. Thank you.
Councilman Romero.
I want to thank everyone that has come here tonight, and everyone that is pitching in and making this happen. John Diaz, this is amazing. I don't tell you that often, but well, here you go. Enjoy it. And it's real, and that's what it's all about. If we can reach these children at that age before, you say 90% of the brain develops before age 4. And I mean, not only does it help these children, but it also helps the people that can't go to work because they need to stay home and take care of their kids. It helps these other children that are going to school because they're of school age and they have to come home and take care of their brothers and sisters. and just in the whole overall community. You start getting younger children that are exposed to this at an earlier age. You get rid of that whole stigma and that whole, embarrassment of not being there with the rest of the class. And I'm very proud to be a part of this. I think the West Bank has got enormous potential. Great people over there. I've been blessed to be a part, dealing with people with the West Bank my whole life. And I applaud the Sheriff's Department, Library Board, School Board, everyone, so thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Folks, we did have one other speaker. He wasn't familiar with our procedure. He's a good friend, site manager for Westlake Chemical, John Scroggins, wants to come up and say a few words in favor. Welcome, John. Thank you for being here.
Mr. Chairman, Council, thank you very much for having me. It's easy to bat cleanup after all of this now. But I do want to express the support, from an industrial standpoint. What you're talking about here is truly an investment. You're building a house. You got to start off with the foundation.
There you go.
And there's nothing more important than investing in the youth that 20 years from now are going to be the strength, the backbone of what we're doing in industry. The first time I had a chance to meet President Contman and John, this was the first thing that they brought up. Our meeting was delayed for a year because of COVID, and we had an offer to come visit the plant, talk about how industry can partner and where we can share. And this was the first thing that John brought a stack of data and started passing it around. And, looking through it, it makes perfect sense. This is something that needs to be done, and I'm very, very happy to hear that the council is forward-looking and looking at investing in the future of the parish, building the workforce of the future, investing in the community. So I encourage that. However we can support, thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your comments. Folks, that wraps it up. I'll just wrap up by saying that this is a milestone discovery. It's not a discovery. We knew it all along, but we're doing something about it. And education is the
Key.
foundation for the future. And that's where we're headed. We're trying to get education as early as possible when it will do the most good. So I thank you all for your comments. I have a motion and a second. Do I hear any objection to the motion? There being none, that passes.
Just wanted to make sure that motion and second was for the amended budget.
Yes, for the amended budget, item 6A.
Thanks.
And we'll move on. Item 5B, renewal of joint intergovernmental agreement and cooperative endeavor between the Parish of Ascension, District Attorney's Office to implement drug intervention programs to rehabilitate and treat adult offenders in lieu of incarceration. Dr. Lisa Weber Curry.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Orgeron, second by Councilman Mason. Any discussion? Any objection? That motion carries. Item C, renewal of an agreement between the parish and Dr. Lisa Bailey to provide dental services to Ascension Parish Jail.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Orgeron. Any discussion? Any objection? That matters. Item D,
Thank
change
you,
order
Crystal.
number 1, Delcon LLC for additional 116 days of substantial completion due to difficulty sourcing material because of COVID-19. For the
Motion.
Ascension Parish Government
Second.
Complex Administration and
Second.
Council Secretary Office renovations. Motion by
Motion.
Councilman Melanson, second by Councilman Robert. Discussion, Councilman Orgeron.
Mr. Compton. Can you give us a little explanation as to why 116 days? What's the process? Why are we this far back?
So this project started last year, and the materials just are on back order, and so the 116 is based on the contractor's estimate for when the doors are going to arrive.
Is this going to increase the cost?
No, sir.
Of the contract any?
No, sir.
Well, because steel prices,
It's
wood
glass.
prices. It's what?
It's glass.
It's glass?
Yes, sir.
So glass is staying level?
we did this contract back last year, and so I don't think it's the price isn't changing, it's just the material's not available.
Okay, great. That was the question, is to make sure it's not going to cost us more.
Yes, sir.
But thank you much.
Thank you, Ricky. Any other questions? Any discussion? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries. Item E, amendment number 1 to the master contract for professional services with BFI Waste Services, DBA Republic Services of Baton Rouge, for an additional amount of $40,000 for additional services due to increase in dumpster services.
A motion?
Motion by Councilman
Second.
Lambert, second by Councilman Malonzo. Any discussion?
Question.
Councilman Aaron Lawler.
Yes, thank you. Ron, why do we need 40,000 more in services? Is it like, and where is this for?
Right, so, Councilman, appreciate the comments. You'll see in the next agenda item, we're gonna adjust the budget overall. This is dumpster service for the whole parish. It's not just one department. So it's very hard to predict how much we're gonna actually need over a year. You got Lamar Dixon in there, parish, DPW, fire stations, boat launches, parks. So it's very hard to nail down exactly what that expense is gonna be. And, closing out in May, the finance has seen a few invoices that are incoming that we need to put some funds there to compensate for. And we're gonna budget that effectively on the next item for the next renewal of this contract.
And I'll add to that, I researched, and we're right now at 37 or 38 dumpsters parish-wide, and they're everywhere. And I think we'll probably get some for the courthouse, or at least one.
Sure, I mean, there's
least one, if
definitely
not two, so
projections of services.
We're growing, the need is there, and I think the administration is trying to look forward and get a handle on this before it gets out of hand.
Okay.
Councilman Ogeron.
Thank you. You had mentioned Lamar Dixon. I believe we just switched Lamar Dixon's dumpster service to a different company?
They're doing a sponsorship, that's correct. So next year, there may not be as much expense, but we're gonna budget and preparing for that in the future, so we won't have to do this again next year.
As a just in case.
Yes, sir.
So next year at this time, we'll be told that the BFI budget is going to be a little bit less, hopefully.
Yes.
Great, thanks.
Any other comments? Any objections? There being none, that motion carries. All right. Now we are
F.
under item F, renewal BFI Waste Services.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Coach, second by Chase Melanson. Item F. Any discussion? Any objection? There being none, that motion passes.
G.
Item G, monthly contract report. Ms. Sandra, or is someone else going to give that today?
No, usually you just have them
That's
look
right,
at it.
that's right. She listed the new contracts and the renewal contracts, and if you have any questions, certainly address the finance department or myself with that in the future, okay? No motion, no action needed. Item H, approval of maintenance agreement between the Parish of Ascension and State of Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development Office of Engineering for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022 for grass cutting and litter pickup. Mr. Savoy, welcome back.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Melanson, second by Councilman Mason. Any questions? Any discussion? There being none, that motion carries. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
All right, we did 6A, 6B, revenue and expenditure report. Amanda? welcome.
Good evening. Before you, the reports for the month of March 2021.
Is your mic on?
Huh?
Is your mic on?
It is. Well,
Don't seem like it, oh. No.
it's not working.
There it
It's-
is.
Oh,
It is.
okay.
Yep.
Before you, the financial reports for the month of March, which reflects 25% of the year. Your page one is a revenue chart that reflects the year-to-date comparison of March 2020 actual to March 2021 actual and the 2021 budget. Your total revenue for operating funds are at 22.99%, and capital funds are at 19.89% of the year. Revenues are currently on track with the 2021 budget at this time. Most of the funds that appear to be under the budget by 5% or more are funds whereby revenues come in 1 month behind behind and the 12th-month revenue is put in at the end of the, not reflected until the end of the year. Sales tax, those funds are, revenue funds are like sales taxes, fines and forfeitures, sewer fees, water revenues. And then there are some funds that are below the budget due to transfers that are not done till the end of the year. Page 2 is an expenditure chart that reflects year-to-date comparison of March 2020 actual to March 2021 actuals. Page 3 is an expenditure chart that reflects year-to-date comparisons of March 2021 actual plus encumbrances to the 2021 budget. Total expenditures for operating funds are at 26.33%. Capital funds are at 16.72% at 25% of the year. Expenditures are currently in line where they should be at this time of the year. Most of the funds that appear to be over the budget by 5% or more are funds whereby encumbrances in the form of a purchase order or a contract have been issued for the full year. Page 4 reflects the cash and investment position of the parish as of March 2021 compared to March 2020 in total and by restricted and unrestricted. The total for March 2021 is $279,858,071, of which $247,468,310 is restricted and $32,389,761 is unrestricted. Compared to March of 2020 total, $287,825,899, with $256,523,243 being restricted and $302,655 unrestricted. At the bottom of the page is a chart that compares your total restricted and unrestricted for 2020 and 2021 as of March. The report also reflects the breakdown between restricted and unrestricted for 2021 and gives a listing of the funds associated with each. And on page 6 of the report is a pie chart showing each and the percent of total cash. Page 6 through 9, these are the detailed reports for your review for the month of March. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you for your report, Amanda. At this time, I'll call on Councilman Dow Wagasback, who wanted to have some discussions on the financial reports.
Well, I was hoping somebody from the admin would be in here, but I'll ask Ms. Gwen. What are we looking at as far as, because I know last year COVID kind of snuck up, the budget kind of snuck up, we didn't really have access to you guys. When will the budget for next year be ready for review? Or Dawn?
We will start the process in July, and then we will start sending out to the different department heads to start taking a look at it in the first week, and then the second week of August, we'll meet with them again. Our plan is to have their meetings, and then we will meet with administration, and then after that, we would be able to give you the budget book to look at before we would present the draft.
So that's like in August?
No, that will not be till probably September, the end of September.
And when do we have to approve the budget by?
It has to be approved 75 days prior to year end, 30 days prior to year end, but we do the draft book 75 days prior to year
Okay.
end. So that's
And-
around August 15th or August 16th.
So
I'm
just
sorry,
wanted to.
October. Sorry,
There's a
October.
reason to all my questions. So for everybody up here, I mean, we talked about with finance, with Dawn, I've talked to John about it. You know, are any of you guys interested in doing a workshop or two? We want access to, I do, ask department heads how the budget changed from last year. Have that access prior to us getting in a meeting and having to understand, 800 pages? So something we've kind of been working on, getting different, just talking to the finance department, they've been accommodating just to get a better high level idea of where the money is going prior to us approving the budget. So I don't know if you guys are interested. I wanted buy-in from the admin, but we'd like access to the department heads just to ask how a budget's changing from last year to this year. So I
And I
guess
think
we'll
we also-
ask them later.
I think we also discussed, Dal, about kind of doing the budget process one-on-one, if anyone would be interested in that, to let all of us know what the budget process is by department and what they have to go through. Because oftentimes, we get the feeling that they're not really doing the budget, they're just sitting with finance, and finance is doing it for them, but they're kind of giving them a little bit of input. So we want to see if that's a viable way to help train the department heads to do their own budget.
And you guys chime in with questions via email. And we just talked about a better understanding of what we're voting on. Last year, we kind of didn't have that opportunity with COVID. So John.
How you doing, John?
No, we were just talking about the workshop, so something that we discussed about having some access to the department heads to, once we get the budget book, if we have specific questions about how a budget changes from year to year, and just want you guys
No, that's something we
into-
talked about last year during the first budget, but we just run into the timeline. We talked
Right.
to it with CAG, and it's something we'll definitely do. And personally, I think, and it's your choice, but every budget over a certain amount ought to have to come stand here and defend that budget and present it just like they do at the state legislature and just like they do at Congress. And talk to you about the details and have a true discussion about where we're going. So it's something we're going to definitely do this year, and we really wanted to do it last year, but rookie mistake, we were still green. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think, oh, I'm sorry.
No, no, go
I
ahead.
think we're gonna have to talk about, I mean, I don't know if we have a couple extra meetings to facilitate that, or we do workshops with 2 or 3 councilmen at a time, but there's gonna be some extra time involved in that, so. I guess we'll just have to.
We welcome
yeah,
the
we'll have to
addition.
discuss a timeline on what
I
that
just
looks
think
like
there's-
in accordance with the preparation of the budget and presenting it to us, so.
Well, I agree with you, and I think there should be way more way more questions than just one on a $110 million budget. It just, there's, and I think it's important that we do these workshops.
Councilman Lawler.
Dawn, John, Gwen, everybody, are we still on board for doing a 3-year long-term budget also this year?
For capital outlay projects, for sure.
Okay.
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5.
3 to 5.
It was recommended doing a 5 from our last audit.
Yes, but, I'm even giving 2 years to y'all, just to be nice. But I'd like to see it for overall, for everything, not just capital outlay, so we can really plan ahead. I know it's something I've been working towards asking for in recreation side. I think we got some people on board that are gonna start doing that. But it really helps us plan ahead, know what we can and can't do, know some limitations that we may have, and also some opportunities that we're gonna have to do other things that maybe we just didn't realize we had the funds to do. So I look forward to that. Thank y'all for leading that, guys.
Councilman Robert.
I like the idea of what you're bringing up here. I think as far as how we would do it, the couple of options that we're throwing out now is maybe have some workshops, maybe do it in meetings. I think a combination would be great, but I like the idea of doing it in a meeting, whether maybe we have a small session or something where the public can also see how this is being defended. And we can also get questions or feed off of each other's questions and see different dynamics of it. So I'm on board with this. I know it's going to have to take some more time. I think preferably the more that we could do in the public, the better.
Okay, very good. Any other comments, discussions? Moving on to item C, bid quote items to accept the lowest responsive bid quote as follows. Cynthia LeBlanc, Purchasing Director. Welcome, Cynthia. How are you?
I'm good. Good evening. How are y'all doing?
Thank you for your patience.
Request for qualifications for agent of record insurance services. On February 25th, 2021, the purchasing department received 5 proposals for requests for qualifications for agent of record. After review, the non-engineering selective committee and administration recommends accepting the most qualified responsive RFQ submitted by Hughes Insurance Services. Also to authorize the parish president to enter into any contract negotiation for these services.
Motion to approve?
Second, motion to approve Hughes, right?
Hughes.
Hughes.
Yep.
I'll second that.
Motion by Councilman Lawson, second by Councilman Lawler. Any discussion? Any objection? There being none, motion carries. Item 2, request for, go ahead.
Request for architectural design services per attached proposal from Domain Architecture in the quoted amount of $41,499. $91 is the design fees.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Robert, second by Councilman Mason. Any further discussion? Any objection? There being none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 3, this is Devin Russ from Procurement, our procurement manager. Welcome, Devin.
Good evening, Council. On April 28, 2021, the Purchasing Department received 2 bids for the model 1100-48 16-inch by 48-inch heavy drum grinder. After review, the Purchasing Department and the Public Works Department recommends accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by State Machinery and Equipment Sales, and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this equipment.
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Councilman
Motion.
Thomas, second by Councilman Lambert. Any questions?
I did have a question. Is this a grinder that you put on the front of a tractor or a trackhoe to
Yes.
shred trees and whatnot?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's actually for the west side as well.
Yeah.
Never mind, we don't need that.
All right.
Any other
Nice,
any other
Lawler.
discussion?
Be nice, Lawler.
Any objection? There being none, that motion passes. Go ahead, item 4.
On April 27, 2021, the Purchasing Department received 1 bid for the precast reinforced box cover. After review, the Purchasing Department and Department of Public Works recommends accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by Capital Concrete
Motion
Products.
approved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Councilman Malonzo, second by
Terry.
Councilwoman Cazo.
Casual.
Any discussion? Any objection? There being none, that motion carries.
Motion adjourned.
Motion by Coach to adjourn, second by Councilman Mason. No objection. We are adjourned.